Does, Jeremy, but lest we focus too much on the Estina project and forget that there have been numerous instances and incidents of corruption, perhaps not on such a large scale, but large-scale corruption nonetheless in the province of the Free State. Really, the Estina project is the epitome of what has been transpiring here over the years. I'll make an example, and it's an example that is actually very current in that it is the headline in a local newspaper today. Now, in this article, it quotes Thabo Manyoni. You'll remember him as the deputy chairperson of the ANC, at least the leadership that bowed out at the PEC in December, the one that was later nullified, of course. Now, he was ousted. He was nominated alongside Ace Magashule for the position of president. However, he didn't show up, and it wasn't just him, but we now know that there was a large portion of ANC members in the province who boycotted that conference because they didn't recognize it. They didn't recognize, the structure that organized it. They didn't recognize the conference. They made allegations which have now, by the way, been acknowledged by the court, that including the branches that had convened the various BECs to put forward names of delegates, that those were improperly constituted. And only a month or so later, the court did indeed put the stamp on that allegation by saying that indeed this was the case. And what then happened after that is that Luthuli House then instituted a provincial task team in which Thabo Manyoni then came back into that. I'm mentioning this background because we will be speaking to him during the course of today. So what I'm saying about the current revelations that we're sitting with, there's a poster not too far away from me, a newspaper poster, where Manyoni actually mentions that 270 million rand has been improperly used in this province. Now, this is 270 million rand outside of the 570 million rand that you and I know is the figure where the Estina project is concerned. So, Jeremy, really a number of cases have been cited in this province. Earlier on, I was in conversation with a veteran journalist from here, the city of Mangaung, and you could get the sense of how jaded she was with the stories, but of course highlighting that, if it wasn't for the fact that journalists were shining a light on all of these stories from the beginning, we may not have ever reached the point where we're now talking about the Estina project, which is, it's arguably the pinnacle of the rot that we now know as state capture. Jeremy.
So, Asanda, if it is so deeply entrenched, if it's so endemic, as you're pointing out to us, particularly in the Free State then, are any efforts succeeding in terms of combating corruption? Is this war being won at any small quarter?
Jeremy, that is the question that we had as we were making our way to the Free State, myself and Slindle Kaba, my producer, to try and get an appointment with the province and the leaders in the province to get them to tell us, in light of everything that has happened, what do they have to say? What measures do they have in place? How do they intend to push back against this pandemic of this systematic corruption that has really taken a hold in this province? And unfortunately, the Director General of this province said that he would not be available for an interview. In fact, he had been advised by his communications team not to do an interview with us. So right there is an opportunity lost, because one would hope that given the opportunity to sit, let us talk, we're not passing judgment. We are not saying anything as to who is wrong and what not, but what we're really trying to find out is what are the plans that have been put in place. Surely it is not a good thing that the narrative that is going to be sustained over the years when the Free State is mentioned is how corruption has become so systematic in this province, how you cannot even mention certain names of political players in this province without having those whispers and those statements being made alluding to the rot in the province, alluding to all kinds of controversies, alluding to the political patronage. I mean, earlier on, not too long ago, an hour ago, I was speaking to the president of the South African Municipal Workers Union, who was saying that even as the municipal workers being on the ground in the communities, being at the forefront of the deliveries that are supposed to be delivered, it is disheartening to see how there seems to be this widening gap of a municipality and a leadership in place that is expected to deliver services, and the services that simply do not arrive in the communities. And instead, we hear of Estina Dairy project, we hear of multi-million rands, 40 million rands being spent on websites, we hear of scandals pertaining to building of toilets, we hear of positions being offered in exchange for votes going into NASREC conference in December. So, you know, this is the narrative that plagues Free State. And given the opportunity to talk to us and say, we understand, we accept, but this is what we're doing, they chose to just ignore that offer.